Well, we're back again. Got a little project. You see how much snow we've got in northwestern Ohio. Nothing. It's 40 degrees, January 6th, Wednesday. But it's time to get the sleds in order. Just unloaded this off my trailer. And that's where I stored it through the summer. But anyway, I couldn't get it started. So I'll show you what I did yesterday. This was trial by error type situation. Wasn't getting any fuel. So I pulled the plugs, a couple snorts of starting fluid, got it to pop. So it tells me got spark, I'm just not getting fuel. Well, what I had done prior to storage, that's a shut-off valve there, I had it running in the trailer, then I had turned it off and then let it run until it stalls out. That empties the carburetors of all the fuel and the system. There's your fuel pump right there. And so everything was emptied out, so you turn it back on, and I wasn't getting any fuel. So what I did is pull this line off. Here, that goes down to the fuel pump. You can kind of see down in there. Hope this is all turning out all right. I'm going to put some more light on it. And anyway, there it is. Did that, and then I took and put a little tiny funnel in the line right here, filled it with fuel, and it started. And it ran. As long as I kept feeding fuel into it, it would run. So I knew I was getting my spark, and the carburetors were okay. And so I put the line back on, hoping that it would draw fuel from this line, which goes over to your tank, which is your inlet is right there. And then inside your tank there is a fuel line that fastens onto that fitting, goes down and lays in the bottom of the tank, which has got a filter on the end of it that draws your fuel. Well, it wouldn't run. I mean, I let it run and finally it died and it's stalled out from gas, lack of fuel. So I don't have a mirror to be able to get down in here and look, but I went down in with my little claw retriever. I could see the fuel in there. I've got this little claw retriever here that it's got that deal on the end of it, and I grabbed hold of the fuel line that was laying in there and went to pull it out. Well, the fuel line just fell in two pieces. So obviously what I figured, and from the get-go, is that the fuel line has rotted off of this fitting here on the inside of the tank. So I thought I'd bring you along. What we're going to do is pull that fuel line off, that fitting out, and we're going to reinstall new line. And this is for anybody that has snowmobiles with the new fuel. The ethanol fuel, it tends to eat the lines up after 2 or 3 years or more. So if you're not getting any fuel to your carburetors, that's kind of how you trace it down, and then you go from there. And I've had this issue before, so I'm kind of familiar with it. But I'll take you along and show you how I pull that fuel or that little fitting out of there. It just unscrews, but I'll show you, and then we'll see if I can fish out the rest of that bad line inside the tank and give you an idea what it looks like. So stand by. So there's the fitting with the hose off. You can see the nipple sticking out there. It's just standard nipple. And now we'll remove that little fitting, and there more than likely is just the remains of a fuel line on the end of it. Let's see. Okay, we got the nipple out. I'll show you. As you pull it out, there's a, this is where your fuel line fastens on. You can see it's split. That's your fuel line. So I got to put new fuel line on here, and I don't know, you probably run foot and a half, stick it back in the hole, pass it onto this fitting, and then try to screw it in. The problem is that, you know, the fuel line has got to whip around on the inside of the tank, and then there's a filter on the end of the line. So we have to be real careful when we do that. So I'll get back with you and show you what I get. Well, I was afraid of this. I'm going to have to remove my fuel tank because the fuel line just keeps breaking. Let me show you what I've got here. The fuel line is crumbling as I grab it with that little claw. And so you can see the fuel line right here. And this is pieces of it. And all you got to do is it just breaks, you can see. So what's happening is it goes down in there and I get that little grabber, and there's a piece that's not bad, but you get the idea. And it just keeps breaking off inside the tank, pieces of it. So what I'm going to do is pull this fuel tank off, which just unclip my little mat bag. I've got a spring down here that holds the front of it on. I got some snaps, there's 3 snaps on each side that hold this cover on, and then there's another spring like that goes over the back. Take those off, and I got to remove this little vent hose up here at the top. And so do that, you can pull your tank off, and then I get anything that's in the tank out. I'll put it into a coffee can and empty the fuel tank, get all that old hose out, and then we'll start fresh. Alright, I'm going to show you what I did with the spring. I could not get the hook off, so you just roll it up off of that little lip it's got there. Take a screwdriver in behind these snaps, you pop them off. Now we've got to get this ring off of the tank itself. You see that is just a little ring there. And now we got to get this cover off. I've already taken the hose off of the vent hose off of the front. So you got to be careful. There's a little nipple that sticks out there so that you don't break it off. And you pull the cover off, and it just slides up off of your tank like so. And off behind all these different apparatuses here. There you go. There's your tank cover. Can't really see that well, can you? There you go. Now we got our fuel tank. And if you look on the back side, well, this one doesn't have the spring. Who does it? Let's see if it'll just pop off without anything. And there's a little lip that it slides underneath. So what we're going to have to do is to probably remove this oil tank in order to get that up. You see it's hitting right there. Unless I can slide it, which I don't think I can. No, because it's inside a bracket down in here. So we'll loosen this tank off, get it up forward, and then I can pull the front of it up and we'll just slide it on out. Okay, you can see the oil tank. You got the one bolt holds it on. There's a little vent tube comes off of here too, so you have to pull that off. Just slide that out of the way a bit. Now you should be able to raise that up high enough. Slide it out the back and over to the side. And there you have it. You got your fuel tank out. Let me show you what it slides into in the back there. There is a little fixture there or whatever. You can see the back of the tank goes down into that. So that positions it, and then it goes down into the front of this little doohickey down in there. There's a little bracket right in front of that oil tank there that slides down into. So anyway, that's how you get the tank out. Not a big job, but you just have to do it every so often. And this goes for all snowmobiles. So anyway, I'll get back with you. I'll show you what kind of junk comes out of the fuel tank. Well, let me show you what was in the tank. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well. There's a bunch of crud. You can see I got pieces of fuel line, a lot of junk. It falls apart, disintegrates, and so you got to get that crud out of there. And this little guy is what was on the end of it, on the end of the hose. There we go. It's a little filter. You can kind of see the end of it there. It's got like a screen on it. I can get the light on it right. And then you put that on the other end on the fuel line like that, and then you put the other end of the fuel line on that nipple that I pulled out of there, and this it's got the weight that holds the line at the bottom of the tank, and it lays there, and then it draws the fuel. Now it doesn't keep the big chunk, or it keeps the big chunks out, but it doesn't, you know, the little fine stuff can still get through there. But that's one thing about snowmobiles, you don't have to worry too much about dirt. But you do have to, every so often, you have to clean your fuel tanks out like I did today. So hopefully this will help somebody if they run into this situation of a sled not wanting to start for the first start of the year, that if you're not getting fuel to your carburetor, check this line that goes into your fuel tank, because more than likely it disintegrated just like this one did. And it's not a real hard fix, but it can be challenging if you just don't know what to look for. So rather than pulling your carbs off right away, go through some of the steps there I prescribed at the beginning, and then if nothing else works, if you can get it to start by pouring fuel into the fuel line and getting it the carburetors to pump it up to the carbs, then you know your carburetors are okay. But if it still won't start at that point, well, then you got either issue with the fuel pump or your carburetors need cleaned. So, and I got a video on that, cleaning the carburetors on this particular sled. This is a 1985 Polaris Indy with a 440 air-cooled engine on it. So that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya. Bye. Well, just when you think everything is going smoothly, I was putting it back together, and I twisted off the fitting, that nylon fitting that went into the tank. Should have expected that, I guess. So a new one is in store. So I'll bring it back and we'll show this thing running whenever I get my piece back in here. So see you then.